Hey, good morning. It's time for Midweek Motivation Live with Patrick Lee. Of course, this is Patrick Lee, your host, sitting in today for Patrick Lee, the host, the regular host of the show. Hope you're doing okay today. It's a beautiful day. It's a Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock, our regular dated time, our regular appointment of the week. People are already tuning in for Midweek Motivation Live. I'm so happy to be coming to you every week. Wednesday mornings at 10 to bring you the show. Today, we're going to be talking about success in business and life. And our topic of the show today is the way to the top is through. What in the world are you talking about this week, Patrick? I ask that question at the beginning of every show, right? The way to the top is through. I am a child of the 60s and 70s, and one of the hit songs in those days was "It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll," right? Well, the way to the top is through. And so that's the topic I want to talk to you all about today, on how to get through different things. And success in your business is generally found when we knuckle down and get the job done and find ways to get to the top. But I want to tell you a little story. You know, a lot of people in business say that facts tell, stories sell. So I'm going to tell you a little story about a business that many of you have heard about. And actually, one of the things that my company has been sort of built on some of the same concepts of this company, and that's the story of Netflix. Every one of you who's heard of Netflix, right? Y'all drop me some likes, loves, thumbs up, hearts. How many of you have Netflix? Probably every one of you, unless you've canceled it in the last years for some of their questionable content. We're not here to discuss that today. We're here to discuss their business model. And it's been a very successful, one of the most successful business models in the history of companies like that in media and marketing, not just in marketing businesses or marketing one particular kind of business, but in marketing general. Talk to you a little bit about the owner, Mark, and his concept when he started the company. He was the guy that runs Netflix, the biggest company in the world at the time, or especially in America at that time. The biggest company was Blockbuster, right? And I don't want to get this wrong. Don't want to get this guy's name wrong. It was is Mark Randolph. Yeah, I kept wanting to say something else. Mark Randolph was the guy that started, one of the guys that started Netflix, the biggest company that people watched videos on before that. Previously was who? Blockbuster, right? There was a Blockbuster on every store, on every corner of most of the business blocks in the cities that we all lived in here in America. Everybody went to Blockbuster for video. You rented them on VHS, and then eventually they started turning into DVDs. And we had two young girls at the time, and we went to Blockbuster all the time. If you wanted to watch a movie and you didn't want to pay $7 for popcorn and $10 for a ticket to go to a movie, what would you do, right? You'd go rent a movie. You'd go to Blockbuster. So then this upstart company started being advertised, called Netflix. And what would Netflix do? When it first came out, you would order a movie from them and they would send it to you in the mail, right? They would mail you a DVD of a movie, and then it was your responsibility, and it had a self-addressed envelope that you would send it back in when you were done, right? That's how it would get done. They would mail you a movie, and then you would take it back and send it back to them. And everyone said that will never work, right? How many of you remember that? Are people already coming in, commenting? Good morning. How you doing? Good morning, Pete, Amanda. People already commenting, coming in today. Love that. Thank you so much for watching. But this, Mark had this company, and they had this dream of turning it into a giant company, Netflix, and they were sending movies in the mail, and it was a subscription service. Many of you may not know this. Mark was a geology major in school. He was not a big marketing and business kind of guy, and this was kind of new to him. but he had turned into somewhat of a marketing genius. He was a marketing guy, right? Hey, good morning, Fifi. Good to see you on here too, my buddy. So Mark was a marketing guy with a background in geology, and the big dog at the top excuse me, at the time was Blockbuster. And I get so many thoughts in my brain and I have to get them all out at once, right? So Mark was the boss at Netflix. They had this little DVD mailing business, and Blockbuster was the big dog. So Netflix had this brilliant idea of our subscription model is taking off. We've got about 500,000 subscribers that are asking us to mail them a movie every month or every couple of weeks and sending them back. So they got the big idea that they would pitch their company to Blockbuster, right? And they said, hey, we're going to go to Blockbuster and we're going to allow them to acquire us. Good morning, Annette. Good to see you on here too. People tuning in from all over. Love that. So they went to Blockbuster and pitched selling their company or to be acquired by Blockbuster. And Blockbuster listened to him, and one of his partners was the designated guy who had already decided in the beginning, they had already decided he was going to be the pitch man, and he was going to be the one to drop the price on them when they got to that point. And they said, this all sounds good and fine. How much are you asking for your company? And the guy leaned in and told them $50 million. And they got laughed out of the office. Not necessarily laughed as they tell the story, but the story goes it was pretty laughable. The way they looked at them and the way they talked to them after that was basically, thanks, but no thanks. Thank you for your time. You can go now. There's the door. So Mark's dad is actually the person. Mark's dad and a couple of great leader friends of mine in the past are the ones that came up with our title today. The Way to the Top is Through, with the subtitle of If You Don't Quit, You Win. To the victor go to the spoils, right? Many of you have heard that. But they went back and licked their wounds for a while there at Netflix, and they couldn't understand why that Blockbuster kind of laughed them out of the office. They knew that their price was very aggressive, right? But they also believed in their product and what it was that they had to sell, and they were forward thinking enough, and they had done their research to know what people wanted. And that's what I want to talk to you about a little bit today. Within just a few years, many of you understand now that you have not been to a Blockbuster in years, right? Raise your hand if you've been to a Blockbuster in the last couple of years. If you just raised your hand, you're a liar, because there's currently, from what I understand, there's only one Blockbuster store actually left in America. And Netflix, the company that they offered to sell to Blockbuster for $50 million, is now worth over $250 billion. And how many of you have heard the term Netflix and chill? What do you want to do this weekend? Let's just turn on Netflix. How many of you are binge watching on Netflix now, right? Netflix is the number one streaming service for these shows. They create their own shows. They buy shows that were previously on TV and movies. And they film their own movies. This is crazy. So they've gone to this little movie rental business to now being one of the largest media moguls in the world today, right? Happy, beautiful day to you too. Thank you, Cody, for the compliments on the haircut, and appreciate that. I was looking, a little 70s, fixing to turn into hairband if I didn't, and the hairstyle if I didn't get a haircut. So I had to go get a haircut yesterday. Thank you. So I want to talk to you today about your business and your business model. And maybe there are some things that you have been thinking about in the past, the way things work with you and your company. And maybe you have thought about giving up, quitting, changing the way that you do business. I think is definitely a better decision than quitting. But thanks, Ross. Everyone's saying, looking good, man, looking good. I'm like, well, that's trying to look sharp. I'm trying to stay one step ahead of y'all, right? So, but the way to the top is through. How many of you spend a lot of time in your business or your company looking for ways to get you want a shortcut? And I'm all for some shortcuts. But if you are looking to start a business, or you've been in a business for a short time at a company, and you think that you should automatically be at the top, and you're always spending time going through the motions of trying to find shortcuts, there's got to be a hack, right? A life hack, a business hack. Now, there are some of those. And when you do find those are things that can project you quantum leaps ahead in your business. But I want to encourage you today to not spend a whole lot of your time looking for ways to cheat the system. Those things do happen, and I'm not saying they don't. They do, and I've used a lot of them and utilized them. But the best way to find those, in my opinion, and what has worked for me, is to come across those while you are in the process of doing the real work. Okay, to proceed or project your business forward. I hope this is going somewhere with some of y'all, that this is clicking with you. You can spend so much of your time spinning your wheels looking for every little shortcut, every little self-help video, going to seminars, doing all kinds of things, because the next greatest, latest thing is out there that's going to help you become successful. And what I have experienced in the past is that I can spend tons of money, literally thousands of dollars, following after all of these the next latest, greatest thing that's going to help me be successful in business, and not actually spending that money in my business. And at the end of the day, I've spent a whole bunch of money and I'm no further along in my business than I was before. Okay. So you can spend a whole lot of your money. You can get very, very, very out of focus when you start doing all of these things. So I'd like to encourage you today to don't spend so much of your time looking for ways to cheat the system. Get involved in the system. And that'll move us into our next point. Research who your customers are, who your customer is, where they come from, and what they're actually looking for when they found you. How many of you actually spend the time in your company to look for, to do the research and find out who your customer is? Maybe you need to identify who your ideal customer is, your perfect client for your business. Write it down. You need to be able to define who that person is. Who is my ideal customer? And then the next thing is, where does my ideal customer come from, right? Where does my ideal customer come from? What is that ideal customer looking for when they find me? And on top of that, how did they find me? That's critical for you to know. You need to be able to identify that and be able to go back to that, refer back to that when you're looking at growing your business. Who is my ideal customer? Where do they come from? What were they actually looking for when they found me? Those are incredible things, because once you can identify those things, you can put together a roadmap of how to increase that, how to compound that, and move forward exponentially. Okay. Next, you want to determine what it is about your business that needs to make a positive change to fit that new roadmap that you come up with. Okay. What is it that I need to do in my business that's going to make a positive change in determining where my client comes from, determining how did my client find me? If they found me by accident, by searching through 10 pages on the internet, if someone Googled your name or your business and you're 10 pages down on the internet, you need to make a positive change in your internet presence. Okay. If you're not on page 1 or 2, you're basically done, because most people go to the internet, right? Raise your hand. Give me some hearts and likes on this. You understand. Most people go to Google and they're one and done. If you're not on page 1, they don't look for you. They go look for another way to find someone else. Okay. Determine what it is about your business that needs to make a positive change. If it's who your client is, if you keep getting clients that are just tire kickers, they're not serious, they don't really look at you as the authority in your business, then you need to make a positive change in that. You need to learn how to promote yourself, present yourself, and advertise yourself as the authority, the number one person that they need to be doing business with in what it is that you do. That makes sense with you? Determine what it is about your business that needs to make a positive change. Maybe it's your appearance, like my haircut. You need to look the part. You need to play the part. You need to be the part. We've talked about being the evangelist, the preacher of your company, of your brand. You need to look the part. Okay? Get some clothes, get a haircut, shave. If you're selling something like Tom's shoes or surfboards, and you need to look like a surfer. If you're a lawyer and maybe you need to dress up a little bit more and quit wearing the board shorts and flip-flops looking like a surfer, right? What is it about your business that needs to make a positive change? And if it's image, improve your image and your presence. If it's your internet presence, you need to improve on that, okay? The way to the top is through. If you do all of these things that I'm sharing with you and then actively get involved in your business, you will find the way to the top. And it's through. If someone's in your way, you're going to find a way through that person. If someone is stopping you, if they're beating you at your own game, you need to find out how to win that game. You're going to come up with a new strategy and a business plan to where you can put your pedal to the metal, you can move forward and take your business quantum leaps ahead through your competition and come out on top, right? And you know what it's going to take for that to happen? Some of you are going to have to toughen up, right? You got to quit getting your feelings hurt so easily. You got to quit admitting defeat so easily. You need to stop laying down when the going gets hard or you lose a battle. You need to stop laying down and saying, well, this isn't for me. You have to continue to get back up, get back in the game, get back in your business, and continue to move yourself forward. All right? Toughen up, Buttercup. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. I hope this has helped you this week. I love you guys. Thank you for coming back every week. The way to the top is through. And if you don't quit, you win. Very wise person has told me that in the past. Remember this, courage begins at the end of your comfort zone. This has been Patrick Lee with Midweek Motivation Live. I will see you next week. You guys have a great day, okay?